It's time for Greg Bishop and the Council Roundup.
And tons to get you from the Springfield City Council meeting that was postponed from Tuesday, the Independence Day holiday, to last night, where the city is continuing a state of emergency. We'll hear about that, but we'll also hear a lot from the utility and from Public Works and aldermen's questions as to how power is being restored. But as far this morning, about 4,000 some odd customers still without power. That's after tens of thousands were knocked out of power after Thursday's storm last week. So it's now nearly a full week that people have been without power. And you had the utility there with several officials breaking down all of what they're dealing with, starting with Doug Brown, the chief engineer for City Water, Light, and Power at last night's Springfield City Council meeting. We'll get to that in a moment. But the Council Roundup brought to you each and every week by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Subs. All right, let's get right on into it with the Springfield City Council meeting last night. Here's Doug Brown.
It's a lot. And they're working long days, 17-hour days when they're on shift. So they're giving it their all. And just, the devastation, though, again, I'm not going to keep driving this in. So because the public just doesn't seem to understand I know they're frustrated. Get that. But the devastation for the widespread across our community is, we just haven't seen that in decades with this kind of the wide scope and the breadth of it. And it's terrible to be without power for basically almost a week. It really is. And we're going to work tirelessly until we get everybody back on. And we just ask everyone to stay respectful, patient. But I also want to thank the elected officials too, everywhere, for understanding just how difficult the situation is and supporting our employees for the job that they are doing.
So it's not an easy job, no question. Brown continues to talk about what they're facing out there on the roadways, on the power lines, and so on.
Just keep watching the weather. Our electric grid remains fragile. Strong winds or storms can still cause outages. We are concerned about what we are having tonight, but it looks like it might bypass us a little bit. But there was still some pretty good winds out there that could basically cause some of the tree limbs that are already weakened to fall onto the power lines. Actually, even if no wind, the tree limbs are still weakened. They could still fall on the power lines at some unknown moment, and the customer would lose power.
Obviously something that they have to continue to worry about. More from the utility last night.
Well, hey, I had power, then I went back off. Well, sometimes when we're doing repairs, we do have to take customers back off to fix something and then put them back on. And we'll try to minimize that as much as we can. Like yesterday, we also had a vehicle hit a pole and an insulator failure yesterday afternoon, and basically it dumped a lot of customers, especially on the MacArthur substation. And it took a few hours just to get that fixed. So
you've got other external things outside of last week's storms that are causing some problems along the way. More from Doug Brown.
The severity of damage with this is it is impossible to provide estimates for everybody for their areas. It's impossible. The damage is so widespread. We're still walking down circuits, at the individual levels and assessing what those are, and then organizing the tickets for those repairs, and then we assign crews to those.
And the logistics of all of this has got to be just daunting, and more from the utility.
I'm going to have Matt Huff here soon really discuss the complexity of that. But we have 133 additional personnel on site with 112 trucks from various areas throughout the country. COP has 75 personnel and 50 trucks, so that's over 200 people in the field trying to restore power. So we've more than doubled our numbers. And we have more arriving tomorrow.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that so many people from around the region are coming together on this. Here's more.
But we've contacted all the electrical contractors that are licensed in the city of Springfield, notifying them that we will provide them with a meter lock key if they provide a deposit. This will allow them to disconnect the overhead service from the weatherhead. This is on the person's house, on their meter. And reconnect it to our lines. This will help us and the customers, due to the volume of calls we are receiving, to reconnect services and not take away from the other restoration efforts. Customers should ask their contractor if they have a meter lock key if they want to be able to speed up their service reconnection.
And then they had another utility official there to talk more about the continued recovery efforts.
For those of you that haven't met me, my name is Matt Huff. I'm the Superintendent of Distribution and General Services here for CWLP. And I've worked here since 1999. So it's been a great place to work, and thank you for having me.
So Matt, he talks about just all of the logistics involved with all of this.
And so when we're talking about how long things take, these crews get to the job site, and the first thing they have to do is provide for their own safety and provide for the safety of the public. So they have to make sure lines are de-energized, and to do that, sometimes that means driving from Shields to Chatham and making sure everything's safe. They get the work done. While they're around, we kind of talk about the public coming out and talking to them and things like this. It's always great to see faces, and it's always great to shake hands. But to be honest, it kind of slows them down. So the best thing the public can do, if you have any advice for them, is say thank you and just move on. That way it doesn't slow them down. One little problem we've had in the past and recently, report malicious activity. Some people like to roll up this wire and take it with them, and we need it. So if you can pass anything on to people, please do that.
That's wild to think about in this time that people would do such a thing, but you got to deal with it.
So we're looking at all of the outages on Quadrant based on the largest outage that we have. And then we also try to prioritize, special interest things like hospitals, nursing homes, retirement centers, all these things, intersections, traffic lights, tornado sirens, all of those things go into consideration. So there's just one thing I want to say about the city of Springfield and City Water, Light and Power. I've worked here a long time, and everyone in this room and everyone in the city should be very proud of the employees. People are putting in a lot of work.
Absolutely.
No question, a lot of focus on the employees and the hard work they're doing day in, day out, working 15-hour days at times, more from the utility last night.
One of the other things, too, which we've talked about in past couple of years, actually, is going to AMI meters. AMI give you the detail. Basically, we know who's on and off at every location that has a meter.
These new meters cost a lot of money. We're talking $18 million, I think was one estimate. So whether or not that's going to provide some kind of more immediate notification about who has power, who doesn't have power, making sure that the map is as accurate as possible with the outage map that the City Water, Light and Power Utility has available. So we'll hear a lot more, including questions from aldermen about the ongoing process of cleaning up. We'll hear a bit from Public Works, all from last night's Springfield City Council meeting here with WMAY. Don't forget, you can contact City Hall and get more information about all of the different resources there are, from the Bank of Springfield Center with hot meals to cooling stations. The YMCA is involved with all of this as well. So a lot of resources available for those who are still without power. All right, back with the Council Roundup, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. And don't forget about deliveries, Head West Subs. Hearing from last night's Springfield City Council meeting, we heard the utility, City Water, Light and Power, talk about all the trucks they've got out, all of the efforts they've got in to restore power after last Thursday's widespread damage from high winds, snapping trees onto power lines and snapping power poles, knocking out power to tens of thousands of people all across the region, including in Springfield. They now have that down under 5,000, but the work continues. Alderwoman Lakeisha Purchase laying out some of the concerns that she's experienced firsthand from last night's Springfield City Council meeting.
The boxes on our house. That's the most phone calls that I'm getting right now, is that people poles and their boxes have fell off their houses, and they also don't have the means to pay for them to get them back on. And I'm explaining to them, they asked about the cost, having a electrician come out, and we're getting like mixed messages. The tree companies are coming out and saying that CWLP can do it. The electrical companies are saying CWLP can do it. So I think your email will be very helpful. And maybe Ms. Amber is very good at graphics to just explain that process for people on private properties.
Yeah, that's been in some of the communication emails I've sent. I know you've had some power issues yourself,
And I explained that
I'm sure there's others too, right? But
I explained that to them too, that I've been personally through it and showed them the process of it.
And so the outage page that we have, there is information on there, kind of what is their repair, the homeowner's repair versus the utilities repair. So there's a great graphic on there, a picture that explains that pretty well. So I would encourage anybody that has damage on their home to go to the web page and look at that.
I will share that photo. And Madam Mayor, maybe this is something that you can bring up too, because there's constituents of mine that can't afford to get that box put back on. Like, it cost me $800 to do it to my home, and they saying that they don't have the funds to do that.
Director Yazel has a conference call with HUD to see if we can get some federal assistance with that.
Okay.
So obviously
Thank you
that's
so
a
much.
major concern for private property owners, and something I think will be an ongoing concern. Here's Alderman Roy Williams Jr. with some questions.
Some of my folks in my ward have been telling me they would run up to the vehicle, in desperation. Hey, you here for us? And in the conversation, that person doesn't know they're out. They says, oh, you're out of power. And then the constituent is saying, what? You see WOP? Yeah, I'm out of power. So I kind of want to be able to explain how that happens. So everybody that is sent out, they may be in the area but not know for sure who has it and don't.
Well, I guess, not every house would be out necessarily if they go to an area. So they're better on asking if the person's out, so that way they definitely 100% know that you're out. It's not they're trying to be disrespectful in any manner at all. They're just trying to make sure they dot the I's and cross the T's.
Okay.
On that.
Some more from last night's meeting. You had, I believe, Alderman Brad Carlson ask some questions about priority for various areas of the city.
So our first priority is to get all the feeder circuits on it, because really without that, all the stuff below it just doesn't matter. So we have to get the feeders back on, the main feeders, and then as you step down to the next level, which is like what they call the laterals, the backbone, really, of the electric grid. Then we start looking at those kinds of things to take into consideration if we can. But again, when we're dealing with an area of 200 over here, 500 over there, and a group of 5 over here, there's still too many that are in that kind of that category, of that. But as we get further down, that it's just going to come more into play.
So it's just a volume thing.
It's just
Obviously,
a
in a
volume
normal
thing.
course of operation, if there was just a few hundred out, then that's when this priority list would kick
Right,
in.
yes.
And you can get a
Yep.
much smaller micro level to
Right.
get them. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we did, like I think Matt touched on, we try to get major medical facilities, nursing homes, the ones with a large amount of people, grocery stores, those kinds of things. That's what we're trying to get first, and then start
Yep.
other things, yeah.
Alderwoman Erin Conley having some questions as well, and some points that she wanted to ensure were clear when it comes to restoring power across the community. Here she is.
So as our crews go through an area, they understand to go down every street and every alley and visit every house. And if there's a house that they can't reconnect because of the damage or something that they need to get fixed, they'll leave them a hazard card, and we keep track of all those by serial number. And
Okay,
an
so you've been
address.
leaving hazard cards?
Yeah,
I haven't heard from anyone who's gotten those yet, so
yeah,
I'm sure there are
if our
plenty.
crews go there, they'll get a hazard card, and then that comes back to our ops center, and then we'll have this nice little stack of
There we
hazard
go.
cards that we'll have to reassess later. And that's one thing that we're always careful of, right? When we say we've been in your area, and then we say, okay, well, now we're leaving that area, and there's still a couple of people out of power, the only reason they should still be out of power once we remove that and we decide that we're leaving there is because we can't do it.
We got a lot more to get to from last night's Springfield City Council meeting with utility crews talking about the continued efforts to restore energy and so on. So obviously a lot more to tackle here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West. Back with the Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Don't forget, City of Springfield has tons of resources available for you. You can call the American Red Cross, 1-800-733-2767. You can also contact the city, Public Works, for ideas on how they're getting to address all of the scattered limbs and branches and whatnot. 789-2255, 789-2255. There's cooling centers. A whole bunch of information, help for seniors, and so on. So be sure to get to the City of Springfield's website for the latest contact information on a variety of resources available for you as storm cleanup continues. So they heard from City Water, Light, and Power last night about the just breadth of cleanup and the devastation that's so widespread, and the thousands that are still without power and the efforts to get them back on power. But then they had to deal with city business. And one issue that came up was the appointment of former Springfield Alderwoman Kristen DeCenso to help with the Liquor Commission. And Roy Williams Jr., he had problems with this because DeCenso is so fresh off of being an alderperson, and now she's going to be appointed to this particular role within the city. Here's Alderman Williams.
I just want to share with the council that, I have read the ordinance and talked with folks about the ordinance of the difference that I brought up between the two former alderwomen. And I'll just say that that same ordinance or code says that this council does have the authority to override it or do their will, as you will. I just want to remind you, Mayor, and my council members that whatever votes you take, that people are looking at this and they're seeing one former alderwoman being treated very different than another alderwoman. So I won't be supporting it, but I just wanted to say that. And yes, if there's 6 votes, it passes. But I just wanted to be on record saying that I've done my due diligence. Thank you.
So let's take a look at it. Vote comes up on the board, and you see the tallies starting to be put together. Looks like Alderman Gregory is present. Alderman Williams is president. Alderman Rockford's present. Purchase not yet voting. It's 5-3.
I feel like we're missing one.
Also,
Alderwoman.
Alderman Carlson voting
sorry.
present. So now it's 6-4. So the measure passes.
With 6 voting yes, 4 voting present.
So congratulations to Alderwoman Kristen DeCenso for getting that appointment. But then they get into emergency passage ordinances.
Ordinance authorizing the purchase of a bucket trouble truck from Drake Scruggs Equipment Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $175,000 for the Office of Public Utilities for emergency passage.
So move.
Second.
All right. We have a first and a second to place agenda number 2023-297 on emergency passage. Any discussion on this ordinance?
No discussion.
All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Emergency passage requires the mayor to also
And
vote.
the motion passes with 11 voting yes, none voting no.
Now for the
Next item on the
extension.
agenda is item number 2023-323.
State of emergency.
A resolution continuing the declaration of local state of emergency through July 12th, 2023 for emergency passage.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion on this ordinance?
No discussion.
The voting is now open. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
And it's approved unanimously with the mayor voting yes.
And the motion carries with 11 voting yes, none voting no.
So the state of emergencies continued in Springfield because of the ongoing storms. Here's Mayor Misty Buscher and Alderman Gregory.
So those that are displaced aldermen can go to the BOS Center, and the American Red Cross is set up there for 24/7. And it is, if any of you in the council chambers want to go view that, it is amazing what they have set up over there. It is really, really amazing. So they can stay for free there and get food and drink. And then also for those who are homeowners that need help with debris removal, not renters, just homeowners, they can contact the Illinois Baptist Disaster Relief Team. They are here. The phone number is 217-341-2416.
Can you say that one more time?
Slow down. I talk fast, Alderman, sorry. 217-341-2416. Thank you. And they are in the community now, and they will assess, and they are here just to help homeowners with the debris removal, because there are homeowners who cannot get to that, as you are stating, Alderman Gregory.
Important resources to be had. Let's hear from the Public Works Department, Director Fuchs.
At 6:30 this morning, the Department of Public Works deployed 10 debris collection crews. That includes 1 crew from the Illinois Department of Transportation, and we are greatly appreciative of their efforts. We deployed at the same time, 6:30 this morning, 3 cutting crews. These are all from the Forestry Division, and these crews work exclusively right now with bucket trucks, chainsaws, cutting tree limbs that are hanging, cutting up trees that are down but are they're not really in the right-of-ways. We've pretty much cleared everything out of the streets, but the sidewalks and whatnot. So they've been concentrating on that. A good way that we keep track of our progress is the number of loads of debris that we have hauled.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
As of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, we had hauled 157 truckloads of debris. Our total since last Friday is 590 truckloads of debris.
It's a lot of debris.
Our folks are working hard. We're cutting it up as fast as we can in trying to get it out there and get it cleared. We have activated the branch collection map. If you take a look at Public Works on the city website, we're basically using our snow control grid system. If you take a look at it, you'll see which grids have crews that are active in it today. There were 10 that were active today. Those are in the blue. Those in the yellow do not have crews that are active in those areas. So that's the way you can keep track. I can't tell you what time they're going to be cutting a tree.
No.
There's just no way I can do it. But I can tell you what part of the city they're going to be working in today. So I would encourage everyone to check. The branch map was activated, and that's the best way that we can let folks know what areas our crews are in.
So obviously, people want to know where the cleanup crews are going to be, and the city has those resources available. The Communications Relations Director.
Now, for people that have EBT, a SNAP card, a Link card, you can call the Red Cross. They'll have you call the insurance agency, and they will replace that for you free of charge.
Awesome.
Now, for our people who do not fall under those circumstances of having EBT card, SNAP, or a Link, if it tells you anything, in front of me here, I have a plan. It's 96 pages. I'm reading through it all tonight for a long-term and short-term relief plan. We'll be working on putting together a long-term relief group to not only find ways where we may be able to get SBA loans to help small businesses, individuals who are both renters and homeowners, but also to start putting in place a structure where we're training people in the community to be able to react and respond in disaster relief efforts, so we can help supplement what the Red Cross is already doing, help supplement what Public Works and CWLP are already doing from any standpoint outside of what you need to be certified for to deal with, down power lines and trees. So I don't have a exact short-term solution right now for replacing food that was lost. I've been talking to a lot of people. I spoke to an elderly member of the community today who is in a walker. She has a fridge full of food that has expired. She just got her power back on. What I suggested to her was I provided her with the non-emergency line for the fire department to call and ask if perhaps some firefighters could come out and help her remove the...
Not necessary. Call the office of the mayor. I have to look up the general
We've got another number for that now.
We've got an answer for this. Ethan Posey, 217-789-2200. Call the office of the mayor.
Yes, call
The
that.
American Business Club has agreed to go help people who cannot get that food out.
That's great.
Thank you to big shout out to American Business Club.
So something else to consider, too, is power outages for hotels. And that was something that Alderman Brad Carlson brought up, and the Director of Visitor and Tourism, Scott Dahl, addressed.
We have 5 hotels that are closed due to no power on South Dirksen Parkway right now. So that's really where our communication's been. Our average rate in the city has gone up in the last couple of years. I mean, we're averaging about $105 across the board. So again, you've got to take that all in consideration from the different tiers.
Yeah, they didn't. I asked what specific hotel. They gave me a rate over the phone of $300. That's from the constituent. I said, what did they ask? They go, well, they were asking $300. And then, so who knows? But I just want to pass it on.
So obviously, that's another major concern as well when it comes to the efforts of the city to restore power. What about those hotels? Alderwoman Purchase will have the last word here, talking about a program that she helped organize to get people's laundry done.
I just want to say just thank you to all my colleagues. Everybody has been really pitching in. We did about over 19,000 loads at all-in-one the past 3 days, and I get a little teary-eyed because people really had a need for washing their clothes while they didn't have power. Our downtown businesses came together, brought barbecue pits out, and I was so happy I got to eat a steak. So the community really came together in these last 3 days to help out, and so we're continuing to work together and putting all attitudes aside, and it's really, really helpful to see that going on. So thank you.
That's your council roundup. A lot more last night that we didn't necessarily have time to get to, but obviously focus on cleanup from the storm is ongoing, and something that we'll hear a lot more about in the days ahead. Council roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west.